Hello everyone, today's lesson is all about the properties of matter. Matter is anything that takes up space. The properties of matter help us to understand and identify these certain materials. They are used to describe the main characteristics of matter. Different properties of matter lead to different functions, so it can be very useful to understand that so that we know what different materials are used for and picking what materials are going to be best for the function that we desire. There are both chemical and physical properties of matter, but in our lesson today, we are just going to focus on the physical properties of matter. Our first property is color. Color is a fairly simple one to identify. Some examples of color are red, blue, green, orange, etc. There are many different colors pictured here as well. You can use color to help you describe something, but since it doesn't give a whole lot of information, you're also going to need to look at some other properties as well as color to describe matter. The next property is density. Density is how tightly or loosely packed an object is. You can picture a dense object having tightly packed molecules, whereas a less dense object would have molecules with more space in between them. A dense object is usually going to be smaller but heavier, and an object that is less dense will usually take up more space but be fairly light. A good way to measure density is by putting the object in water. So if you put the object in water and it sinks, that means it's denser than water. So we can use this property for many different things. You can see this property being useful for things like anchors. Anchors sink in water, which helps the boats that they are attached to stay in place. So if you put the object in water and it floats, that means it's less dense than water. So a good example of a less dense object being useful that you have probably seen before is functioning as a flotation device, like a life jacket or a pool floaty. The next property is malleability. Malleability is the ability of metals to be hammered, shaped, and rolled into very thin sheets without breaking. So gold is a malleable metal because we know that we can hammer it into thin sheets, or for this example, we use the property of malleability to shape gold into some gold coins. The next property is solubility. Solubility is a substance's ability to dissolve. So if it can dissolve, it is considered to be a soluble object, and if it can't dissolve, it is considered to be insoluble. So the solute is the thing that actually dissolves, and the solvent is the thing that does the dissolving. So one example would be putting sugar in your coffee. You know that the sugar is going to dissolve, and the sugar is the solute, and the coffee is doing the dissolving, so it is the solvent. Something that would be insoluble is sand. Sand does not dissolve in water. If sand didn't have this property of being insoluble, we would not have our beautiful beaches anymore, which would be very upsetting. Now, the last property we will discuss is state of matter. There are 3 states of matter. They are solid, liquid, and gas. A really good example is the 3 states of water. There's solid ice, liquid water, and water vapor as the gas state. With water, we know that each different state has very different purposes. So for example, liquid water, it flows very easily, and we use this property to have water flow through our pipes. We know that water in its other states would not be used for the same purpose. Here you can see liquid water in this video. You can imagine trying to use a different state of water and the results would not be the same. But water in its other states still have their own purposes. So here is an example of water in its gas state. This is actually a video that I took of the geyser Old Faithful when I went to Yellowstone. The geyser shoots up water that's heated up by magma, which creates this water vapor. as you can see, and many people are entertained by this beautiful sight every day. This lesson discussed just a few of the many properties of matter, but there are still many more properties that you can find useful for you.